Welcome to Hallie Explore by Haley. Thank you for joining us today on this very special tour in the ancient city of Hue, where we will dive deep into one of Vietnam's most exquisite and yet little-known craft traditions, Phap Lam, Hue enamelware art. I'm delighted to lead you through a journey of history, artistry, culture, and hands-on experience, winding our way from royal palaces to artisan studios, and ending with you creating your own enamel piece to take home as a memento of this journey. As we begin our day, I invite you to imagine the world of the Nguyen Dynasty, 1802 to 1945, when Hue served as the Vietnamese imperial capital. Within the grand palaces and mausoleums, craftsmen worked in hidden workshops creating ornamental enamel metal objects that adorned gates, roofs, altars, and interior panels. That art is Phap Lam, literally enamel under the law/principle, a craft of copper or bronze faces coated with colored enamel glazes, fired, shaped, and polished to shimmering forms. Today, though centuries have passed, the craft is being revived, appreciated not only for its beauty, but for how it links us to Hue's cultural identity and heritage. We'll explore the origins, technique, meaning, and current uses of Phap Lam, and you will meet a living artisan, hear his story, and even craft your own piece. I hope this tour leaves you with more than memory, a deeper sense of place, of tradition, and of creativity. Our story begins around 1827, during the reign of Emperor Minh Mang, 1820 to 1841. It was in that year that court records indicate the establishment of an enamelwork workshop dedicated to producing enamelware for imperial use. The technique drew from European, notably French, and Chinese enamel traditions, adapted to the Vietnamese court's taste and local materials. Under the Nguyen emperors, the craft flourished, especially in the central region of Hue. Enameled bronze or copper items were made for architectural decoration, roof ridges, eaves, gate lintels, altars, decorative panels in tombs of kings, for example at the tombs of Minh Mang, Thu Tri, Tu Duc. However, the craft was relatively short-lived. While Chinese enamel traditions lasted for centuries, the Phap Lam craft at the Hue court lasted perhaps some 60 years, roughly 1827 to 1888, before declining after multiple political and social changes. What remains is rare and precious. Fragments of enamel panels, vases, jars, decorative objects preserved in the artifact collection of Hue's museums or embedded high on old palace roofs where the glazing still glints green, yellow, or blue in the sunlight. This history gives Phap Lam a dual value, as an artistic achievement and as a tangible link to Hue's imperial past and cultural heritage. Why does Phap Lam matter? First, as an art form, it is a remarkable fusion, copper or bronze core bodies, then layered with glazes of vibrant color, sometimes with beautifully carved motifs, sometimes in cloisonné style, wire channels filled with enamel, sometimes in painted enamel style. The hues, vivid blues and greens, yellows, reds, combined with motifs of lotus, dragons, clouds, flowers, and poetic panels in Chinese characters create a visual vocabulary that speaks of royalty, refinement, and symbolic meaning. Architecturally, Phap Lam pieces were used not just as decoration, but as statements of power, prosperity, and aesthetic refinement. For example, the outer ridges of palace roofs had enameled decorations because the glaze made them more resistant to weather, and the colors stood out against the gray roof tiles. Culturally, the craft reflects Hue's identity, the seat of the Nguyen emperors, a place where artistry, ceremony, and scholarship converged. To see a Phap Lam panel is to see a fragment of that world of imperial ritual, courtly taste, and artisanal mastery. Today, the revival of Phap Lam also speaks to questions of heritage preservation, continuity, and adaptation. As one article notes, this technique, though young in Vietnamese terms, possesses a unique soul and profound local character. Thus, when you encounter a Phap Lam object today, you're not only viewing enamel on metal, you're engaging with history, craft, symbolism, and identity. Let's walk through the main steps of how a Phap Lam piece is crafted, so you will better appreciate what the artisans do and why your hands-on experience will be so meaningful. While workshop methods vary, the typical process includes 1. Core body preparation. A copper or bronze metal core is formed, sometimes in the shape of a vase, other times a flat panel or decorative architectural piece. 2. Undercoat and priming. The metal base is prepared, possibly with an undercoat of glaze or primer to ensure good adhesion of layers. 3. Enamel application and decoration. Layers of powdered glass, enamel, mixed with pigments and oil or other binding media, are applied. Technique may include cloisonné wires or direct painted enamel. In hue, the technique was adapted locally, mixing powdered glass with metal oxide pigments and oil into a thick paste, then applying it onto copper inlays and firing. 4. Firing in kiln. The piece is fired at high temperature to fuse the enamel layers, produce sheen, hardness, and durability. Some references note that hue enamelware had high resistance to heat, rain, weathering. 5. Finishing, polishing, assembly. Once fired, surfaces may be polished, decoration enhanced, sometimes the object assembled into architectural installation or household item. In modern workshops, the step-by-step may be streamlined or adapted. For example, one contemporary artist described reducing the process from 7 main stages and 108 subsidiary steps into 3 main stages for a simpler Hoa Kim Sa variant. As we visit the artisan's workshop today, you will see these stages up close, and later you will practice a simplified version under guidance, so you understand how much patience, skill, and creativity is required. Though the original craft declined after the late 19th century, Phap Lam today is experiencing a revival. In Hue and beyond, artisans, collectives, and heritage organizations are researching the old techniques, restoring surviving pieces, and adapting the style for modern markets. What are the uses of Phap Lam in contemporary life? Decorative items, wall panels, framed enamel artworks, decorative plaques for homes or hotels. Architectural restoration, pieces used to restore or replicate enamel metal decorations in royal tombs and heritage buildings. Souvenirs and functional objects, smaller enamel items, jewelry, trays, coasters adapted for tourists or gift markets. For example, one studio uses the technique to decorate phone cases, coasters, etc. Art pieces. Some contemporary artists reinterpret Phap Lam motifs and techniques into fine art contexts, exhibitions, combining tradition and modern design. Thus, when you visit today, you may purchase or craft an enamel piece that carries both the aura of antiquity and the novelty of modern design, a meaningful souvenir of hue. Now, dear guests, this is where our journey becomes personal. After visiting the heritage site and exploring the background, we will arrive at a local artisan studio in Hue. Here you will meet a living master of Phap Lam, for example, Mr. Du Triti or another skilled artisan. He will share his story, how he discovered the nearly lost craft, how he learned from old fragments, how he revives the method, his challenges, his daily joys, and his hopes for the future of the craft. You will hear. When I first touched a faded enamel panel in a tomb of the Nguyen emperors, I felt the heat from centuries of kiln fire and the whisper of artisans long gone. I swore I would bring it back to life. Beyond the story, you will be invited into the workshop area. Each of you will have your own small copper panel or a simplified form and will be guided step by step, sketching a design, applying colored enamel paste, positioning wires if needed, then observing the firing/polishing. Some steps may be done by the artisan for safety, and finally finishing and signing your piece. You will leave the studio not just with a souvenir, but with your own handmade enamel artwork, a physical memory of this experience. It is this interaction that turns craft heritage into lived experience. On this journey, we are not merely looking at beautiful objects, we are engaging with culture, history, and human creativity. Here's what I hope you take away. Connection. You now have a connection to Hue's imperial past and to artisans whose hands keep tradition alive. Understanding. You know how a craft emerges, technique, material, social context, and how it can fade and be revived. Experience. By making your own piece, you see the labor, the time, the precision required. That increases appreciation of the finished object. Memory. Your piece becomes a physical anchor to this place and time, Every time you see it at home, you'll recall the sound of the kiln, the bright glaze, the artisan story, the Halley Explore tour. Respect for heritage, understanding that crafts like Phap Lam are fragile. They need support, awareness, and care. By participating in this tour, you help sustain them. Before we wrap up, a few practical notes. Please handle your enamel piece gently. Though durable, the enamel layer can crack if dropped. We are in a working workshop. Please follow the artisan's guidance, wear any protective gear, and observe safety around kilns or tools. Feel free to ask your artisan any questions.